nothing, and to multiply their deposits by at least 9. They can loan out this money that was created out of nothing. They loan it and collect interest on nothing, and yes, they do pay taxes on that side of it. But the Federal Reserve itself, if it loans money to the federal government, which is all it's allowed to do, and it receives interest on that, well, it takes that interest and it uses that money to pay its own expenses. And whatever is left over, it returns to the treasury of the government.
Right.
So it is the Fed itself is a non-profit organization. But don't forget, wouldn't it be nice if the banana cartel could get all the taxpayers to pay its overhead and its expenses, and then whatever is left over returned to the government? That's basically what it is. In other words, let me rehash. The Federal Reserve System is not an entity like a bank. It does loan money to the government, but that's its only commercial activity. And whatever money it makes on that activity, it uses to pay its overhead and returns the surplus back to the government. But the real action is not there. The real action is out on Main Street, where the member banks have these big buildings, and there are millions of people going in there, borrowing money that's created out of nothing and paying interest on it. That's where the action is.
Here's a question coming in from Charles in Jamaica, New York. He's asking, do you think that we will see a collapse in the U.S. economy and the initiation of martial law in the United States by the end of this year?
Well, there are 3 questions wrapped up in there. Do I think there's going to be a collapse? Will it be coupled with martial law? And will it be by the end of this year? I think an economic collapse is inevitable if we continue down the path that we are now following, and I see no evidence that the people in Washington have any intention of changing that path. In fact, they're the ones who are leading it, and so I think there's going to be an economic collapse. The word collapse perhaps needs to be defined, but I think things are going to get worse to the point where most people who are suffering under those conditions are going to define it as a collapse. Now, the other thing is, will there be martial law? I know that the government thinks there will be because they're planning for it. They're making all kinds of almost frantic preparations. They're equipping police forces. They're assigning military forces to the United States. They're training their troops in how to administer martial law. They're funding it. They're setting up prison camps to take care of dissident citizens. They're spending a lot of time and money preparing for martial law. So I'll answer the question by saying they think there's going to be martial law because they think there's going to be a lot of civil disorder, and I might sound a little bit paranoid, but I think that they're probably planning to trigger it themselves to make sure it happens, because that'll give them an excuse to have martial law. And there'll be a lot of good people that will get sucked into that, and they'll think, we're fighting for freedom, and they won't be. They'll just be fighting for a chance to go to a prison camp. And then finally the thing is, will it be done by the end of this year? I haven't the foggiest idea on that. Let's hope it never happens.
Ed, about a global currency, I'm curious, because we hear echoes of this coming out of China, Russia, the G20 meetings. People are losing faith in the dollar because of the reckless policies of the Federal Reserve System. Do you think that we will be moving towards a regional currency such as been proposed, like the Amero, or will we just be jumping headlong into a global currency? I personally think this whole economic system is being designed to collapse for an excuse to go into these global or regional currencies. Do you think we're going to see this in the near future?
Yes, I think it's going to be in the very near future. Of course, that's what the whole purpose of the G20 meetings are all about. They're trying to explore ways to make this happen. They're trying to get convergence of their national policy so that it's all harmonious, and so they're discussing it intensively right now. And we also know that this is a plan that's been on the books for many, many years, I would say decades. We know that the people who are doing the strategies for this have that in mind. So there's no question as to what is happening or that the people in charge want it to happen. The only question is, how fast will it happen? Another question is, will it, as you phrased, will it go directly to a global currency, or will it be phased in through certain regional currencies? And the other question is how fast. I think that the plan is to go at it through regional currencies, although I don't have any inside track on that. I think it'll be easier to sell to the people of the world as regional currencies to lead them toward the global currency perhaps another decade or two down the line. And let's hope it never happens, Gary, but that depends on us to a large extent. As long as we sit by and just watch it happen and don't do anything meaningful to reverse it, don't do anything meaningful to replace the players, to replace those congressmen and those senators with real Americans, as long as we just sit there and watch it and say, tut-tut, I wonder how long it's going to take, and then it's probably going to happen sooner than any of us want.
And I want to take a look at the last, let me rephrase this. You have been fighting the New World Order for many, many years, and your hindsight, looking back at the progression and the speed of things that are taking place right now, would you say that the plans for the New World Order are now accelerating at an increased rate?
No doubt about it. I think they're running for the finish line right now. I think they want to tie this all up with the absolute loss of national sovereignty within the next few years. That's my opinion. And I'd like to say something I've said before, and it's so true today still, and that is there will be no date, no particular point in history where you can say, on this date, the New World Order was ushered in. To a very large extent, Gary, we're already in it. We've been in it for a long, long time. What they're really doing is just building the walls a little bit at a time with the passage of each day. And we're in it. And we'll never be able to say, gee, it started on this date. That's all I want to say is that the New World Order is here. And, yes, I've been fighting it for a long time. And the point at which, if there was to be a date that a historian might want to put on the arrival of this monster, I suppose it would be the date on which all of the nations of the world surrendered control over their money and over their military, because those are the two legs on which national sovereignty stand. If you've got a strong military and a strong money system, you're a sovereign nation. If you don't have those things, you're nothing. You're just a territory that is controlled by someone who does have strong money or strong military. So we're very close to the surrender of our money right now. I suppose that would be a date that historians might choose for the crossover point. Let's hope it doesn't get there.
All right, well, Ed, I want to keep you on the line for just a minute. I'm going to close out the show, but I'm going to come back to you in just a second. So, but I want to thank you for joining us on this very special live edition, hour-long reality report, and we hope to have you back again soon. And next time we can talk more about the steps that are being taken and how the success of this movement is in ending the Federal Reserve. So stick around.
Well, you're very welcome, Gary. Yeah, I'll hang on. And do I have a chance to plug the Unfiltered News to your viewers?
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, I would like to invite everybody who's not already a subscriber to our free news service to do so. It's called Unfiltered News, and I personally put it out every week. Today is my day. Tonight I'll be working on it probably all night. And it's free, so just come to our Reality Zone website. That's realityzone.com. And on the front page you'll see a picture of a little guy holding up a newspaper. If you click on him, you'll get to a place where you can sign up for free, and you'll get unfiltered news delivered to your email box every Friday. And if you don't like it, you can unsubscribe, no problem, but I'd be very surprised if you don't like it.
All right, Ed, thank you for joining